Hey guys, so I thought it would be a good idea to do a themed video, themed content every month to have a fuckboy of the month. The reason that I want to do this is A, I feel like it could be pretty funny, but B, I can be petty and it shocks me how people treat each other sometimes. And so I'm like, if I can vent about this person and publicly shame them in like a 5-minute YouTube video, why not? Like, give me that license. So the first fuckboy of the month is dedicated to this guy who we'll call Matt. We'll call him Matt. Flashback. Matt hit me up on Grinder about a year and a half ago. So Grinder, for anybody who doesn't know, Grinder is only for gay people because it's mostly a hookup app. But there are people on there who look for friends. There are people who look for dates. When this guy hit me up, to be honest, a part of me was like, I don't know about this because Grindr is such a hookup app that I didn't want to meet somebody special through Grindr. Now thinking about that sort of logic, I realize that that's ridiculous. Like, you can meet somebody anywhere and you shouldn't close yourself off to an opportunity because of the platform. But that's the way I felt at the time. I was keeping him kind of at arm's length because I was like, I don't know, like, what if something happened? What if this worked out? What am I supposed to tell people? Like, I met you on Grindr, you know? But he was being normal, respectful, kind, very intelligent. So I entertained the thought. So Matt, despite his intelligence and the fact that he was handsome and all these things, he was a horrible communicator. Like, the kind where you reach out, you exchange a few messages, and then I send the last message and I don't hear from him for another week. And then when I hear from him, he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm really bad at this." And I'm just kind of like, I'm annoyed by this. Like, I met him through Grindr. He's not a great communicator. And then one day we had a really great conversation over text message. And I was like, oh, this boy has substance. Like, this boy has totally piqued my interest. So then my mentality kind of changed. Also, this is last fall, 2016. So it's cuffing season. So, then you start like getting more sensitive and you're like, maybe it'd be nice to have like a little romance, a little cuddle buddy, whatever. At one point he mentions that we should meet up for a drink or something. But then he never actually plans it. He says that he's busy, he has a friend from out of town or something visiting. So eventually I finally am like, what are you doing this day? Let's hang out this day. Turns out he's busy that day, totally fine. And then he said, I'll reach out to you, like, we should definitely hang out. I never hear from him. Whatever, like, I move on. But then this guy, Matt, I keep seeing him on Tinder, and we keep matching. First time we match, he reaches out. I think we matched like 4 times. So the first time he reaches out, and then we start talking again a little bit, but it's very brief, and then it doesn't really go anywhere. But we keep matching. And then after that, this was like in winter. So in winter, I'm always like hibernating. I'm like bitter about everything. So in winter, I would keep unmatching him because I was just like annoyed that this person has my attention. He lives literally a few blocks away from me, right? Because we found each other on Grindr, so it's location based. He lives in my neighborhood, like 3 to 5 blocks away from me. We keep matching. I'm just like annoyed that he doesn't care enough to make an effort. So I keep unmatching. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. And then this past summer, 2017, I had this thought that I thought, you know what? All these guys keep coming and going, right? And most of them I never even meet in person. Instead of investing 50% in each of them and wasting that time because I never meet those guys, because eventually I lose interest from feeling like I'm putting in more effort than I should be and they're not making any effort, I thought, what if I do something different? What if I put in 100%? Like, I go all in, and then if it doesn't work, I learned a lesson. So I'm like, let me give this guy another chance. Because I remembered, again, I see him on the apps, and I'm like, you know what? He actually was so smart. And I could tell that he had substance, he just didn't know how to do this dating thing. So, this was so bold, like, this is so me. I call him. We haven't talked in months and months and months. And I call him because I figured that's like a more impressive thing than just sending a text. He doesn't answer. And I leave a thoughtful voicemail, and I was like, look, like, this fizzled out for whatever reason. Right now I'm in a phase where I'm realizing that I want to put more effort into, and that was actually the truth. There were other guys that I reached out to from my past who I was happy to even become friends with, because at that point I'm like, I just want to be surrounded by interesting, intelligent gay men, even if just platonically, who I can learn things from. You know what I mean? Like, who I can learn things from professionally. Him, this guy Matt specifically, is a self-described entrepreneur. So I'm like, I could learn from you. So it's not even about like there's no ego for me. If he doesn't want to date but he's open to friendship, like that would have been cool for me. I leave this message and I'm like, I don't know why we never even met in person. It was just silly. Like we live blocks away from each other. So he responds and he's like, I really appreciated it. Da da da. We should totally hang out. I totally want to hang out, but I'm traveling. I'm leaving New York City for a month, like literally like the day after, or the day after that. Um, so I'm really busy right now, but would love to hang out when I come back. So I'm like, okay, cool. And he said something kind of cute and flirty, like, if you remember me by then, winky face or something like that. I don't know. So I'm like, oh, okay. So he's actually interested in the dating thing too. I try to maintain his attention while he's out of country, while he's traveling, because I don't, I want to like keep the interest there and just keep chatting. So I do that. The end of the month comes and he lets me know that he's actually staying out of country for another month because of work or whatever. So I'm like, kind of annoying, but that's life and whatever. So again, I keep engaging him. Remember, he's a horrible communicator via text. So eventually it was like pulling teeth. Like he was barely responsive. But again, remember I said, this is my strategy that I want to test this. I want to put in a lot of effort and really like grab somebody's attention and we'll see if this works. And I don't find out that he's back from him telling me. I find out through seeing him on Grindr in the neighborhood. Of course, in my head, I'm like, turn off, turn off, turn off, like multiple turn offs. But remember, I have a mission. I'm like, I'm going to make it to a first date with this guy. I'm determined. And I'm assuming some of you guys are watching this like, Village Kev, he's clearly not into you. But my whole thing is when we first started talking, he would reach out proactively. Even though he wasn't a good communicator, he would reach out proactively multiple times. He would tell me he thought I was handsome. Like, there's clearly an intellectual compatibility as well. So, like, I really don't think that it's a lack of interest. I think it's a lack of, like, effort. I think it's a lack of effort. I think the guy is attracted to me. He's just one of these people who's, like, emotionally retarded. So, anyway, I reach out to him, and I'm like, oh, you're back. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm finally back. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then, I give him a few days because I'm like, he just came back from being away for months. So I'm not going to, like, get up in his face and, like, smother him. I gave him, I think, probably almost, like, a week. And then I'm like, hey, so are you ready to get that drink, like, that we've been talking about? And he goes, oh, I'm actually dating somebody now, but I'll let you know if that changes.
Bitch, why?
First off, how this guy is so difficult to communicate with that I've been chasing him around. I'm like, how is it possible that he has somehow connected with another human being in the meantime? Like, how is that even possible? And you've been out of country. But I'm also like, you've only been back for a week. Like, how are you dating somebody so seriously that you're not even willing to meet somebody who's been chatting you up for months? Maybe this is just me, but if somebody was chatting me up for months, I'd be like, I want to meet this person. You couldn't have told me this whole time. Like, you couldn't have told me you met somebody. He said, oh yeah, sorry, it was actually very recent. It's very recent. I was just annoyed by the whole thing. I was annoyed that I put in this effort with this, like, fuckboy, And I said something like, I think you're missing the point, which is that, like, I've been chasing you around for months. You didn't communicate any of this. And even if it was very recent, I just find it mind-blowing that, like, I've been trying to connect with you and you've put in very little effort. And meanwhile, you just found somebody and now you're like,
Bye, pumpkin.
And he said something really defensive, like,
that's just the reality of the situation. I just met somebody, and that's just what it is.
I'm like, you're just an idiot. Like, you don't get it. And I told him something like, at best, you're rude. At worst, you're manipulative. And I was like, so well said, so well said. Pat on the back. But what's really disappointing about this is that I would have been happy to be friends with this guy. And according to him, according to his profile, he said he was mostly open to friends. So it's just such a shame to me that I'm talking to this boy who lives 3 to 5 blocks away from me. There aren't that many, smart, like good natured gay boys around. And it's so sad that somebody's ego would get in the way of like wanting to build a connection with somebody. Whenever stuff like this happens to me, afterwards I'm like, was I overreacting? And then typically I'm like, no. Like if when you feel a certain kind of way, you feel it for a reason, and you need to like stand by your feelings. You feel things for a reason. But I'm curious to see what you think. Stay tuned for the next Fuckboy of the Month.